Hey everybody, welcome into today's show here on JTV. It is Monday. Thank you to the Insurance Circle Agency and Pataki Orthodontics and Minuteman Sewer and Drain for high school football and everybody. I'm David. That's Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello, man. Another week.
Another week. High school football is done, but it's not done. Regular season is done.
Man, it's crazy. It's crazy to see how
flew
fast
by.
that season went by, man. Yeah.
Because I feel like just a few weeks ago we were reflecting on Lumen Michigan Center, which was like week 1.
Yeah.
But week 9, high school football happened. We have a lot to talk about with the high school games, so let's get started right away. 8-man Concord's last game, they fell 38-0 to Bellevue. Concord finishes the season at 3-6. Hazlitt, without their star running back at J-High, the game actually ended early. You can read more details on that online. I won't go into detail about it on here, but Hazlitt 42, J-High 24. J-High finishes 4-5 after starting 4-0. Harper Creek, as expected, over Northwest 53-zip. Northwest finishes 3-6. Big 8 conference, Springport 47-6 over Potterville. The Spartans turned it around 7-2 after winning 7 games in the previous 4 years combined, and they won 7 this year. And Coach Ben Pack earned his 100th win as a head coach. What a great night for Springport, and they get to host a playoff game this coming week too. So what better could it be, right?
They feel like the embodiment of the Detroit Lions. That's what it feels like, right? Like couldn't get wins for a long period of time, and now they're hosting a home playoff game. Like that's pretty cool.
Yeah, quarterback Gibson over like 15 yards and 2 scores for Springport. Total Springport ran for 338 yards in the contest.
Give me the port.
Yeah. 47-6. The game we were at on JTV, Western 56-0 over Penfield. We had a lot of fun on the broadcast. I'm sure you listened as you were back editing the highlights.
Yeah, you guys were definitely pulling for nuggets at points in that game.
Somebody else in the building said we were just bored.
Yeah.
Even Dan Gallagher tried play-by-play for one play. So.
See, Josh wasn't there, so it was just an all-out. Just you guys are
Josh,
just
if you're
crazy.
watching, I apologize. Kinda.
I feel like he would have reeled you guys back in sooner than.
No, he
you guys
texted
did.
and said, "This is just an average broadcast."
Oh my God.
Western 56-0. Reed Myers 166 yards, 2 touchdowns. Watching the highlights here, one takeaway I had though, I thought it was interesting. I don't know if you noticed this too, Adam. They let him play a little bit. There were some calls both ways. There should have been multiple flags, especially that last touchdown before the half.
That is a very
Right in the middle of my call, and then Dan Gallagher is like, "Pat, we got to watch that back and look at the replay." And it was pass interference.
He did.
Kinda.
It was. So like, I want to be nice, but I want to be as nice as possible. But
To who?
To the officials, I think they are. They did a good job, but there were some missed calls. That's the problem.
There were several.
Yeah,
missed
there were
calls.
missed calls. So
both ways.
Yeah. So sometimes if you miss a call somewhere, you're gonna have to be a little bit looser somewhere else to kind of like adjust it. I know that happens a lot in baseball as well, but yeah, dude, there were some missed calls that weren't the greatest there, but they let him play, like you said, though.
Yeah, but overall, it still wasn't.
It wasn't. Trust me, I've seen. There's been worse
We've been
in
at
other
worse
sports,
games
and
this year.
yeah. So think about how hard that job must be, and you have so many eyes looking at you, and the home side and the away side all wanting certain certain calls and stuff. It would just be horrible. I don't envy refs. I can tell you that.
Well, Dan Gallagher was an official.
He was
for 19 years. And so next week when him and Pat are on the show,
we got to talk to him about that.
We'll talk to him about that game because there were some missed penalties, and we'll have to ask him about, that being on the sideline for that.
Yeah.
And he was mostly in Lansing. where it was mostly 7 officials instead of 5.
Okay.
So that makes a difference too. We can go more in
100%
depth on
it
that.
does.
But
Yeah.
we'll have Pat O'Dowd and Dan Gallagher on our show next week on Monday. It'll air, so I'm looking forward to that.
It's
very
Pat
much.
finally on the podcast. He's been asking
He got
for
the
it.
invite.
Yeah.
Touchdowns were also scored. Zade Coates, Roman Hawk, Justin Chapko, Brody Parrott, Maverick Hammond, all scored for Western. Maverick Hammond, 3 passes, 2 touchdowns, and 89 yards. Western 6-3, and they will have a playoff rematch against a team they saw just a couple weeks ago. Some more on that at the end of the show. So overall, great way to end though the season for Western in the regular season. Stockbridge has turned it around too. They've won 3 of their last 4 games to end their year. Finished 3-6, 34-9 over Dansville. And the Cascades crossover. Vandercook Lake handling East Jackson 42-7 in the 6th place crossover. Michigan Center over Homer 43-8. Last game of the year for Michigan Center. Last game of the year for Vandercook Lake. And their 2 all-conference seniors will be missed. They were a key part of getting this program turned around, to getting from 8-man to 11-man JV and now 11-man varsity. So got to give a lot of props to Vandercook Lake. So,
Yeah, and also, I wasn't surprised that they won, but that was an emphatic win, 42-7 to end your year. Like,
and
that's
we
pretty
have to
cool.
give more props too to Michigan Center. The way they finished the year strong, battled it out, had a lot of injuries. It was a tough year.
What was
for
their
them.
record? What their record ended up being?
Center, I think, was 4-5.
With how much they struggled, that tells you how well they had kind of.
Well,
a
they
bounce
beat
back
Homer, EJ. I don't remember off the top of my head, but
I guess
4-5.
Yeah. So, but we that was one of our talking points all year, talking about high school football, is talking about this team and where they've just had injuries and there's plenty of teams in the NFL and college that we see the exact same thing, injuries and stuff just kind of derail what was supposed to be a pretty.
Well, it's like the
season.
Florida State thing in the playoffs
Yes.
a couple of years ago.
Yep.
They kept him out because Jordan Travis got hurt. To me, I don't think injuries should ever. And we'll get this. I know we're talking about high school, but real quick, college football playoff with the Jordan Travis thing. Injuries should never affect that. If you're an undefeated team and you're the best team in a Power 5 conference,
For sure.
you get in the playoff.
Oh yeah.
There's no discussion on that.
Especially now that it's an
And if the
expanded
backup
playoff.
and if the backup's playing at the time,
Oh, well,
then they're in the playoffs with the backup.
I mean, if remember a few years ago, we're getting off track, but remember a few years ago when the Chiefs and Mahomes, remember when Mahomes got hurt in the playoffs?
Chad
for a little bit?
Henne.
Chad Henne came in, and guess what?
They
If
won a
would've
playoff
won
game.
They won that game, but they would have had to have him play again. They would have just had him play again, and they could have been just as good. Who knows with Chad Henne? That's a weird take. I'm not gonna I'm not gonna die on that hill.
Well, no, I agree. 4th place, Grass Lake over Addison, 49-14. Braden Lape, the offensive player of the year in the Cascades. They honored the all-conference players too Saturday at Hanover. Braden Lape was the offensive player of the year, 7 touchdowns, 429 yards for the Warriors. And his buddy Bryant Cook, the Cascades defensive player of the year, made 13 tackles. Grass Lake finishes 6-3 and not in the playoffs at 6-3.
It's so mind-boggling that you can be 6-3 and not make the playoffs.
I'll go on a soapbox about it for like an hour. So because it'll be an hour, I won't. They have to switch it back to 6 wins.
I
and
hate
get
it.
in.
Yeah.
Because there were a few teams watching the selection thing yesterday, 4-5, like Addison, 3-6. Yada. There were multiple teams like that got in.
But you got to balance it, though, with strength of schedule. It's not fair for some of these teams to be facing some of these crazy big powerhouse teams, and then
and also the problem,
not
the part
get
of the
credit.
problem is Grass Lake. Some of the because Grass Lake's Division 6 this year, not 7. Most of the Cascade schools are 7 or Division 8. Like, it's not their fault they don't get the points from playing, Addison, who's D8, Homer, who's D8, East Jackson, who's D8.
Yeah.
Or, Michigan Center, or Napoleon, who's D7. You know what I mean? Because the lower schools you play, the less points you get, win or not. Grass Lake's Division 6, but because they play Addison and them, who are 7 and 8, they get screwed.
Right.
And that's what happened here.
Yeah.
Because Grass Lake, clearly, they had the offensive player of the year on their team, the defensive player of the year on their team, while Braden Lape is the second best quarterback in the Cascades.
And he's not going to be able to be in the playoffs. It stinks.
And they beat Leslie already.
Which that's the most intriguing thing. It shows that team can do it. Like, it's just...
And they're not in the playoffs.
It's unreal.
But anyways, Addison is in the playoffs, so at 4-5 in Division 8.
I know you're... And it's like, I know you're a fan of Grass Lake, just to really quick to close that out. I know you're a fan of Grass Lake, so I know you're a little bit biased, but somebody who's outside of it, that team 100%, when you look at that team 100% should be in the playoffs. Like, even just objectively looking at it. Like,
no, not even... Right, as a fan alumni, yes, but just on the outside looking in too.
It just doesn't make any sense.
Doesn't matter about the points or who they play.
Yeah.
If you win 6 out of 9 games, your only losses were to Hanover.
Right.
Let's see, Napoleon by 4, and then their third loss was to Michigan Center by a possession, who they just missed out on the playoffs. So they're there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not like they lost to bad teams.
Right.
So we can go on and on about that. Third place, we thought this was going to be a blowout, Napoleon over Columbia. Napoleon won on an interception with a minute left to beat Columbia at CC 46-41. For the second time this year, the Jug stays with the Pirates of Napoleon.
The Jug.
The Jug. Xavier Skog, 4 touchdowns, 219 yards. Napoleon, 6-3 in the playoffs. Columbia closes out at 3-6.
That's a close game, dude. That was the most shocked that I was looking at the score, seeing how high
second
scoring
place
that was.
shocked too. The next game we're going to talk about.
Oh, of course. But yeah, that was pretty crazy.
Because I was watching back our pick segment this morning. Napoleon Columbia was a lot closer than we thought. Because I'll admit, coming in, we both said it was going to be running clock Napoleon, and it was 46-41. Josh Brigette was at that game.
Oh, was he?
And that was unbelievable.
Yeah.
So, a second place, I said this was going to be a dogfight, and it was.
Heartbroken.
Double overtime, 12-6, Manchester over Jonesville. And because Jonesville lost, out of the playoffs.
Oh.
What a way to end your season. Heartbreak and double overtime. Lost 12-6
to get
and
knocked
out of the playoffs.
Unbelievable. And they had
What a game.
They had a good bounce back year too. They had a shot at it.
I wish we had some video of that, because I would have just I know there weren't very many highlights. Clearly it was 12-6.
I would have loved to have been there. When you told me after the game, when you told me what happened, I could not believe it.
And Saturday, all the marbles, the East, Leslie, Hanover from the West, the Cascades Conference Championship was dominated by Leslie. I was the only, and I was told this by somebody else at the game, I was the only media person anywhere in our area who picked Leslie.
Really? I was so...
'Cause I believed in them.
Well, I was so borderline to pick Leslie. Like, it was close. Like, seeing how good they play and how good their offense is.
I know Hanover's another local team here, and I'm not discrediting how good they are when I say this, but it reminds me of the Big Ten East and West the last couple years. The Big Ten East, Michigan, Ohio State, Penn State.
Right.
Big Ten West, Iowa, Northwestern.
Is Wisconsin in there?
Yeah, and they're not good.
Yeah,
Wisconsin. So I looked at it the same way here. Hanover ran through the Cascades West because they played Columbia, Homer, Vandercook, etc.
Still a good team.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm not denying that.
Right.
But Leslie, out of the East, they had to play Grass Lake,
And lost.
playoff team.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Grass Lake, Manchester playoff team, Napoleon playoff team, Michigan Center just missed out on the playoffs. So,
but to play devil's advocate, they did lose to a team that didn't make the playoffs. And I know we're just talking about how good Grass Lake was, and they didn't and missed out. But still, if you look at it on paper, they still lost to a team that was out of the playoffs.
And I'm not discrediting Grass Lake's win over Leslie, but that Leslie was already in the Cascades Championship before they.
So
even
you think
played
they
Grass
could have?
Lake.
Yeah, you think it could have been.
So it didn't 100% matter.
Right.
So, but still, nonetheless, watching highlights here, Joel Cranmore continued to be the man for Leslie. All 5 touchdowns he was responsible for. 2 quarterback keepers in the first half for touchdowns. 3 passing, including an 80-yard touchdown pass, a bomb to Braden Johnson, which will be in our top plays coming up. We have 2 games to pick from, Adam.
Oh, it's so nice. It's so nice.
Braden Johnson added 101 receiving yards. Tanner Kraft, 16 tackles. Both teams finished the regular season at 8-1. This was Leslie's first playoff appearance and winning record this year since 2012. They went 4-5 last year. And asking Coach McCann and quarterback Joel Cranmore after the game, we'll get to the interview here in a second. Last year they won 4 games. Cranmore comes in this year, starting as a sophomore. They only won those last 2 games last season at the very end of the year in the crossover against other not very good teams. But before that, they had won 2 or 3 games last year. They come in this year, they keep, the same coaching staff, sophomore starting quarterback, and they found a way to turn it around this year and win their first ever Cascades football championship. And Hanover was in the championship game for the first time ever as well. So overall, there were a lot of storylines going into it. I know the score didn't certainly reflect it, but this was probably my favorite game to be at this year.
Wow. High praise from David Rice.
And because the one game we did live on JTV with Leslie Center, that was my week off. I wasn't there. So this was actually my first chance in person to watch Leslie this year.
Okay.
Not just on highlights. They had it their way and their will. I only saw maybe 2 or 3 incomplete passes. Like, on point, 80-yard bomb, and it's just unbelievable. The passing was on point. When they did run the ball, not often, but when they did, that was okay. And they got 2 turnovers, couple fumbles on Hanover, too. Hanover, 1 drive at the end of the first half, 3rd and goal, got stopped, fumbled on 4th down. So Hanover had plenty of opportunity, too, to fight back in this game, and Leslie's defense was just no match. So a great win for Leslie. I got a chance to talk to the quarterback, the guy who did it all, quarterback Joel Cranmore and head coach Tim McCann, right here. Leslie Blackhawks win their first Cascades Conference football championship. Sophomore quarterback Joel Cranmore hit over the arm today and on the legs too. Right from the beginning, 35-14. How about overall in the team performance today?
I feel like my line picked it up from a lot last week. We played it great as a team. Everybody came together and just came out and performed a lot better.
Your coach said to you guys right after the game, this is where you guys want to be playing on that last Saturday of the season. Only had a couple wins last year. Turn it around, you coming in as the sophomore, the starting quarterback, getting it done this year. It's been a great year for you guys.
Yeah, it has. We just have a lot of weapons and a lot of people to make things go the way they do, and we just all eventually start to come together, and it helps come out with the win.
What are some of the positives you're taking away from this game going into the playoffs next week?
We played a very efficient game with all 4 quarters, and I think that if we keep that going, that we'll have a lot of success in the playoffs.
Well, playoffs next week for Leslie. Cascades Conference champions with quarterback Joel Cranmore. Congratulations.
Thank you.
David Rice here, JTV Sports. Leslie Blackhawks, first Cascades Football Conference Championship. Head coach Tim McCann. Coach, you came in, played a really good Hanover team, 35-14. You guys came in, took care of business. Overall, evaluate the game today.
Yeah, I want to give some credit to Hanover. Those guys had a heck of a season, and they came out and they played tough. Ultimately, I think our guys just dug down deep, and after that loss last week to Grass Lake, they just kind of thought that we should get back to their basics of what we've been doing all season and just come out here, shut the run down. We did a pretty good job of that, and we gave up a few big plays, but, they dug deep and they wanted this pretty bad.
Your quarterback's been phenomenal all season, Joel Cranmore. 3 passing touchdowns when rushing today. Talk about him a little bit. He's been awesome.
Yeah, Joel's been awesome all year, and we're really proud of what he's developed into. And he's got a high ceiling, and the way he works at getting better every week. We're excited to see where we go from here.
The turnaround for you guys. Only a few wins last year. You come in this year, sophomore starting quarterback. You come into Hanover, like you said, you want to play on Saturday, and that's what you did, and you guys got the win. What a turnaround for you guys from last year to this year.
Yeah, I've talked all season about, one of our goals was to have our last regular season game be on Saturday. We had get a winning record, get to a conference championship game, and then make it to the playoffs. And all three of those things have been achieved. And we got to keep playing every week as we move into the playoffs because it's going to get tougher every day we go forward.
What are you taking away from this game going into the postseason next week?
That our guys they didn't dwell on the loss to Grass Lake because Grass Lake played us tough and they came out and shocked us, hit us in the mouth, and then we responded this week, and the kids had a good week of practice, and then we showed up this morning and got some stuff done before we came down here, and they were focused all day, and that's important.
Cascades Conference champions, Leslie Blackhawks coach, congratulations, appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate it.
So that was awesome getting to talk to the Leslie Blackhawks. Congratulations to them on a great season. Not done yet. Of course, they're in the playoffs, and they host. So we'll have all the playoff matchups with the local teams at the end of the show. And you can go to jtv.tv for that as well. So looking at any other scores here, anything else that stands out to you? Any other nuggets from this week?
I was about to ask you if you were going to ask me if there are any nuggets.
Any nuggets?
Any nuggets? Here, let me look at my.
That's from Ernie Johnson. He said that once. He said, of course, he said it to Charles too. Any nuggets, Charles?
I forgot what was his response. He had some. There was some. That's like a famous moment. I can't think.
Oh, Lonzo Ball had a triple single.
Oh, yeah. That's right. Oh, that was right.
He had 2 points. He didn't play. I guess shout out to Stockbridge. They turned it around, won 3 of their last 4.
Talked about Springport. Good story there. Springport for sure. And Hazlitt and Jackson, that kind of went, at least score wise, kind of what we were expecting. And then, Harper Creek Northwest, we talked a little bit about that. Northwest kind of, struggled this year. Hopefully next year they can turn around a little bit more. Other than that, man, like the Grass Lake Addison, I thought that was pretty surprising about how big of a beatdown that ended up being. And then,
that's what I expected it to be.
I expected it to be big, but yeah, that was a beatdown for sure, kind of showing that we should have been in the playoffs, but a good send off there.
I mean, Braden Late put 7 touchdowns 2 weeks ago, the game before Leslie.
Yeah, for sure.
Against Manchester. 7 touchdowns against Addison, 430 yards, offensive player of the year, first team all conference.
It's a shame that they're just not in the playoffs, but it's at least a nice send off for him.
He's still got basketball too and baseball for Grass Lake.
Oh, he's a 3-sport?
Yep.
Oh, wow.
But what a career though for him. He started out as the backup on varsity as a freshman.
Wow.
I forget. I was in school too with him at the same time. I should know who the starting quarterback was, but it was a blowout against East Jackson, and they were winning. He came in, played awesome, and from there on, the starter the next year.
Wow.
3-year starter, and it's been unbelievable. And Brian Cook too. We talked to him at Media Day at the start of the year. The defensive player of the year for the Cascades, 13 tackles, and he was a receiver too. As kind of biased here, being a Grass Lake person, but and I'm only saying it because they're 6-3 and they missed the playoffs, but what an unbelievable run it's been for that senior class and for Braden Lape and for Bryant Cook and the Warriors. I've gotten a lot of chances to watch them over the few years as a student and also being with JTV. So it's been unbelievable, and they've been awesome. So I hope both of them go on to play, collegiate sports afterwards. They're both, great athletes who should. So shout out to Grass Lake, 6-3, and they missed the playoffs.
That's kind of our big headline this week.
Yeah. All right, when we come back, we've got 2 different games to pick on the buffet for our top plays of the week from Pataki Orthodontics, so stay tuned. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thanks to the Insurance Circle Agency. Oh, thanks to Pataki Orthodontics, too. Time for our top 5 plays of the week. 2 games with different plays to get you from. Of course, if you're based on the Western score, you might say, David, what big plays were there? There were actually some really good throws and some good touchdowns.
Yeah, there are some really good plays in that game.
And then, of course, some really good plays in the Leslie game Saturday as well. But let's get started. Number 5, Friday night at Western. 10 minutes left in the first quarter. The opening touchdown for the Western Panthers on senior night. Zade Coates, number 20, the running back, got the start to honor the seniors, and he had a 33-yard touchdown run. And then you know what he did a couple plays later after the block? He blocked the punt and picked it up and returned.
Oh, that
for
was
a
him that
touchdown.
did that? Wow.
That was Zade Coates, too. So Zade Coates at number 5 for Western. Good for that young man on senior night. Normally it's Jaden Willis that gets most of the carries.
Yeah,
Senior
that's
night he
cool.
came out and got 2 touchdowns.
That's
Something he'll never forget.
Good for him. Good for him.
Number 4, Saturday, Leslie. Joel Cranmore, one of 2 quarterback keepers in the first half for a touchdown. Joel Cranmore, as a we were raving so much after the Chelsea game about their freshman starting quarterback being unbelievable. Those 2 are on the same
Oh, yeah.
wavelength, if not better. Joel Cranmore, one of multiple plays we'll see here in our top plays. That is at number 4. 20 seconds left in the second quarter at number 3. Right before the end of the first half, Pat O'Dowd was very shocked that Western threw it deep here and scored right before the end of the half. I thought they would just take it to the half. It's not like they needed the score.
Yeah.
But Brody Vitito, the backup quarterback, tight end, 47-yard touchdown pass to one of 2 touchdowns for number 9, Maverick Hammond, right before the first half. So that is at number 3. Staying in the metropolis of Parma at number 2, Western, 1:46 left in the second quarter. Right before that, Reed Myers to DJ Van Riper, number 75-yard touchdown pass to number 3, DJ Van Riper. One of multiple touchdown passes as well for quarterback Reed Myers. And our number 1 top play of the week, I mentioned earlier, the 80-yard touchdown bomb from Leslie's Joel Cranmore to number 5, Braden Johnson. Unbelievable play and one of 3 touchdown passes and 2 rushing for Joel Cranmore. Unbelievable game from Leslie. That is our top play of the week. Thanks to, of course, our crew at Western Friday, everybody, and then JTV's Noah Baker for getting the highlights on Saturday. So
And you for being there, getting up early on Saturday and heading
And
out
Josh
there.
Brigette.
And Josh Brigette, yeah.
and Jeff Steers.
Oh, he was out
Everybody,
there. Oh,
everybody was there Saturday.
all hands on deck.
All hands on deck. That's our top plays of the week. Thanks to Pataki Orthodontics. A great smile is always in style. Grass Lake, Coldwater, Hillsdale. They were just on the morning show last week, too, so you can go back and watch that interview. JTB.TV. That's our top plays of the week. When we come back, high school college sports update. Cascades Conference Championship for volleyball happened. Cross-country playoffs. Jackson College soccer. We'll all get to that when we come back. Welcome back here on JTV. Thank you to Pataki Orthodontics and Insurance Circle Agency. You know, on Wednesday on the morning show, the man himself from the Insurance Circle will be on the morning show. Dave Rice.
Dave Rice? Whoa.
Maybe he'll have to make an appearance in here at some point.
He really should. That'd be really cool if we could have him on.
He keeps telling me he wants to be on. So.
Well, what the heck? You haven't told me that? Then yeah, we gotta do something because that'd be fun.
High school sports, Cascades Conference Championship volleyball happened over the weekend. JTV Sarah Safe took photos online, jtv.tv. Hanover defeated Manchester in the final match. Hanover Horton, the Cascades volleyball champions. Grass Lake finished 3rd, Manchester 2nd, Napoleon 4th, Columbia 5th. And in the Big 8, Concord lost to Bronson in the final, but those two still finished with the share of the Big 8 title. Boys cross country regionals happened. Division 1, Jackson High finished 12th as a team. Division 2 qualifiers at DeWitt Western finished 2nd as a team to earn a team qualifying spot in the state meet coming up. I believe that's next week. To keep you updated on that next Monday. Division 3, Ann Arbor Huron, Grass Lake 8th as a team. Division III qualifiers, Lumen and Hanover qualified along with all 7 of their runners too. And Division IV qualifiers at Jackson and Ella Sharp, Concord grabbed the final team qualifying spot in boys cross country. Girls cross country, Grass Lake heading to the state finals. They finished second at Ann Arbor Huron. Lumen Christi won the Division III qualifiers meet and the only qualified team in Jackson County from that meet. And Division IV Concord second. Women's soccer, Jackson College getting a win over the weekend, 2-1 over Kellogg. They advanced to the regional tournament as the number 1 seed. Jackson will travel to St. Clair County Community College on Saturday, this next Saturday at 4 p.m. to play St. Clair. The Jets, the ladies soccer team, 10-2-2 on the season. Of course, you can always keep up with everything JC2 in Spring Arbor and all the sports online. My school under the tab at JTV.tv. Spring Arbor women's soccer 11-3. They won 4-0 over St. Francis over the weekend as well. And of course, you can subscribe if you ever just want to find out quickly what's happening with the school. Go to JTV Sports, click subscribe. We have it on the homepage too, the big banner. You have it here too. Hit subscribe for free, by the way, no paywall, to your favorite school. I might subscribe to all of them.
Because you just subscribed to Grass Lake right now?
I believe so.
I think I did just Lumen and Jackson right now, just to get a couple, to not overdo it yet. But yeah, probably eventually I'll want to get all the information from all the other schools.
Got to give credit to the other David in the building.
That's
too,
right.
For that.
Yeah,
so, David Barker and everybody who made that happen. So subscribe for free, JTV.tv, and every week you get an email sent right to you in your inbox with everything that's happened that your school's participated in, that JTV has been at. And we're everywhere, so it's going to be a lot in the email, so subscribe. When we come back, Michigan still sucks.
Oh,
even though they beat Michigan State.
They did.
I couldn't find my car after the game,
so
that was bad. And what's even worse is Michigan's hosting Oregon this week.
Hey, you never know. You never know.
I won't be there.
Oh,
so
man.
That's good. And we'll share the local teams and the playoff matchups for football coming up. So stay tuned here on JTV. Welcome back here on JTV. I'm David Rice. Thanks to the Insurance Circle Agency, myinsuranccircle.com, and Jackson, Battle Creek, everywhere, myinsuranccircle.com. So thank you. Michigan, they still suck. I know they won, and Davis Warren started. I don't ask me why. 24-17 over MSU. A skirmish after the game. Colston Loveland said it's little brother doing little bro things.
Oh, let's go.
And the Michigan State athletic director, right after the fight happened, and right after Colston Loveland said that in the interview, called the Big Ten and apparently, quote, made his opinion known.
No, jeez.
Is he just pissed that, we're burning couches? Actually, they burn the couches.
Yeah, that's right.
But, he's just pissed, I think. But anyways, 24-17. Quickly, a few takeaways. Actually, Alex Orji came in and in that second dynamic role where, some design runs still made it happen. I thought he played almost the same, if not better than Davis Warren when he was in. Warren actually did not play bad with no picks. This was a clean game. Michigan had no penalties the whole game either.
Oh.
No penalties, out-coached Jonathan Smith, and just overall, we still have a lot to work on, but it was a big win. It was needed for Michigan too. So
definitely, you don't want to lose this game. This is one of those 2 games every year that you don't want to lose. And this was, I would say, I don't know how long it's been, but this was for the first time in a while where I felt like Michigan State had the best chance at winning on paper
They
going
did,
into the
yeah.
game, and obviously with the score they did. That they had a chance at the end. But
Oh, and Michigan State still did really good on the ground, and a lot of the quarterback keepers too. Aiden Childs was very mobile too. So it's not like Michigan State was just simply not the better team, and that they struggled even more.
no, but
It was back and forth.
right. But look, like 2 years ago, a year ago, this game wouldn't have been a game. But this is the best chance they had, and it's unfortunate. But as the seasons go on, this might just be the start of MSU maybe getting a little bit better and Michigan's decline. But we'll see where it goes.
Well, Michigan still sucks when we play Oregon this week.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, how big of a shock would that be if Michigan comes out here and beats Oregon, beats #1 Oregon?
Michigan has how many losses now? 3?
3.
Okay, so they're not in the playoff, anyways.
If you beat Oregon, though, makes it interesting. But
Yeah,
no,
but
you're
then they
not.
still wouldn't be high enough
You wouldn't
ranked.
be- yeah.
They'd still have to beat Ohio State
Right,
or
right.
Indiana,
But
which is not
what
happening.
if Ohio State, they play Ohio State close
But,
and then they make one mistake?
Ohio State almost lost to Nebraska.
Yeah, funny story about that. I was doing rec football and I was kind of just listening to the games periodically. And that game was on. And I heard the final score, and one of the refs was asking me like, "Hey, what's the score? What, are you listening to some of the games?" And I was just like, "Yeah." And I walked up and I was like, "Yeah, Nebraska just barely lost to Ohio State." And he was just like, "Oh,"
What?
He goes, "What?"
Yeah.
Yeah.
I couldn't find my car after the game.
Okay,
so
this
that
is
made
what
it
I
even
want to
worse.
hear. So what happened with this? I got to hear the story.
So, I went to the game. I went to Ann Arbor right after Hanover Horton game. Went home and then I went to Ann Arbor. I went with a buddy of mine and another friend of ours. He was sitting with. They had their own tickets. Obviously, I already had my own, season tickets, and but we still both rode together to and from there. So I still had to meet him after the game to get to the car, and we're parked at the golf course. Any of you know, if you've parked at the golf course for Michigan games, and especially at night, the farther away from the stadium you park at the golf course, obviously the longer walk it is. And if it's at night, really hard to find your car. And then, so I'm calling him after the game, I told him, though, before the game, meet at our tailgate spot, and then we'll go to the car.
Yeah.
Don't get lost, because, it's college football in Ann Arbor.
It's packed.
Right. And it's Michigan State, so it's even more
Especially,
people.
and it's a Michigan win on top of that, so everybody's leaving the game excited, going crazy, yelling.
And then, of course, it's cold, and my phone battery's starting to get to that point.
Uh-oh.
So my phone dies.
Oh, no.
I called him, though, before. I said, meet at the fence where you walk in and out of the golf course.
Yeah.
Meet there. That did not happen.
Oh, no.
My phone died, so I had no choice but to walk all the way back to the car so I could plug it in and then call
Oh,
him.
okay.
And just as I got in the car, I was sitting there for a few minutes letting it get warm. I plugged in my phone. I just happened to look up, and I see him walking. If I would have never picked up my head and looked, he would have just kept walking.
So did you also like not? So you did find your car, but it was just tough to find your car. Is that what happened? Because
we probably spent over an hour in Ann Arbor longer than what.
Oh
we
my
would've wanted
gosh!
to.
And did both of your friends not show up at that spot, or was it just one of your friends?
It
that
was
did
just
show
one
up?
of them that was coming back.
So
with me.
okay,
Yeah.
I gotcha.
But my phone died, and that's what he had assumed too.
Yeah.
We
What
parked.
was he doing, by the way? Did he tell you what he was doing? Was he just walking around looking for you? Why didn't he
Yeah.
meet you at the spot?
I don't know. That's what I asked him the
What's
same
your
thing.
Spot.
And then I called him. I said, "So you're not here at the spot? I've been waiting here. My
Yeah.
phone's at 3%. Hurry, what
Yeah.
up?" And he's like, "Oh, I'm standing. I see the big M in front of me, the scoreboard, the M, and then the home of the national champs." And of course, I'm at still on the same side of the stadium, but I'm closer towards the golf course in Chrysler.
Yeah.
So I'm like,
Go all the way around. Yeah.
So I walk up, and I'm like, "Hey, I'm walking closer. I don't see you." He's like, just start walking back, towards the car." I'm like, okay. So overall, long story short here, found the car, got home at 12:30,
Oh gosh, got home at 12:30 from this game.
and I'd been up since 8:30 or
Yeah.
9 for the Hanover.
You must have
game
been
at noon.
exhausted. Holy
Oh my
mackerel.
god! But I didn't go to bed till like 3:30.
Yeah, that sounds about right. That's usually what it's like after like doing the Friday night games. For me, it's the exact same thing. It's like, yeah, it's
So I couldn't find my car or my friend at first.
think of how much more that would have sucked if Michigan would have lost. Like, think about that. If Michigan would have lost.
I would have been more pissed.
Oh, and then all
yeah.
that would have happened. Oh.
Before we get to the football playoff matchups, real quick, the Lions blew out the Titans as expected, and the Packers still suck.
You're not going to comment on Jordan Love?
No, I'm not. It's a week-to-week injury with a groin injury. This is totally separate than week 1. They're going to see how it goes. I just read this before we during the break here. We're going to see how it goes this week. It's week to week. Malik Willis may play against the Lions. Not for sure. Maybe. At Lambeau against Detroit this Sunday. I see. That's okay. When Jordan Love was still the backup, we beat the Lions one year, so that's fine.
Ain't this year. Ain't this year.
Well,
You watch that team over the past few weeks, you know this team's good. This team's different.
Well, at least I'm glad we found a kicker.
Yeah, you guys got a kicker, a last-second kick, man.
A lot of like the different Packer fan pages or groups I follow on Facebook or whatever. Most of those people's excuses were, well, Jacksonville's just better than what their record is.
No, that's not true.
No, they're not. That's not true. They're just trying to defend the fact that Green Bay played like you know what. We're still 6-2, so it's not like we're bad. You know what I mean? It's not like we're 3-4.
Every good team has hiccups, so I'm not worried about it for you guys. I mean, trust me, I don't want you guys to do well, but I'm just saying that, like, I'm not. If
I'm
I was
worried.
a Packer
We still
fan, I
play
would
the
not be worried.
Lions and the Vikings again coming up.
You
So,
guys are 6-2, and you have to go into the season knowing you're not going to win the division. I'm sorry, it's just like
either first or second.
not first. You really think you're better than the Lions? You think your team is more complete? You watched,
Not right now, no.
right?
But coming into the season,
You still thought that?
yeah, not now.
Not now, yeah.
And the way the Vikings looked against the Rams, I'm not sure about. I don't know. Am I overreacting about Minnesota after just one game?
I'm not. I was sold on Darnold from the start because I do think that he can be molded into a good player, but I have not been completely sold on the Vikings yet.
So and then the Sunday night game actually ended up being, it was blowout, San Francisco's way, and then Dallas comes back, and not enough time on
Yeah.
National Tight Ends Day. George Kittle, the post game interview, they all gave him a belt that said
Oh, that's
National
cool.
Tight Ends Day.
Shout
on
out!
it.
Shout out to National Tight Ends Day. out
And then
there.
Nick Bosa crashes in the post game interview.
Did he?
After the game.
Oh, that's cool.
With a MAGA hat on.
Did he really? Interesting.
He upset a lot of. Even the reporter was like, "Okay, he's got a message here on his hat."
Oh, really? Seriously?
But you couldn't clearly see what it said on his hat.
Yeah.
But the way the letters were and
Oh,
everything,
that's funny.
somebody did some research and.
Figured out what it was.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So, Nick Bosa's wearing a MAGA hat, and the Niners get the win at home against the Cowboys on Sunday night.
Wouldn't have had that on my bingo card. Maybe Niners beating the Cowboys, I would have had on my bingo card.
Yeah, the other one, I don't think I would have had on my bingo card. Anyways, enough away from MAGA. High school football playoffs. The matchups were revealed yesterday on FanDuel Sports Network. By the way, I was told I was allowed to share this thought here about FanDuel.
Okay.
I was given the green light. Somebody else in the building agrees with me. Multiple people. To me, high school athletics is the purest form of sport, right? Just first. But until high school athletes are on TV playing for state titles on a gambling network, FanDuel, that's where you draw the line.
It's interesting.
How do
Yeah.
Never, ever again should the MHSAA state finals be played on FanDuel now that it's
Has it been
FanDuel.
confirmed that they're going to continue to host the finals?
I don't know about after this year, but
Okay.
um,
I'd be
I don't
curious
know if it's on a contract or not.
I'd be curious to see if it, what the deal is on that.
because it's gambling with high school.
They're
I know they
technically
don't.
That's the name, right? Like you can
Well,
argue.
I know, but they can't. You can't. They didn't show any commercials even on the selection show. They didn't even mention you're watching it on FanDuel, but
I mean, I can argue.
but there's still the gray areas getting more gray. There comes a point where it's like, okay,
Yeah, I mean, I can argue Bally, right? Bally is they're bigger, a bigger company, but one of their parts of their company is casinos, and they were previously the one, So it's just like,
But and I get what you're saying. I agree, but now that it's called FanDuel,
right, it's a little bit more in your face, I guess I could say.
Right.
It was always there, but I think it's
and
a little
that's
bit more
where
in your face.
people I
Yeah.
think draw the line.
If it was DraftKings, FanDuel, whatever, it just doesn't sound exactly right.
right, like high school sports are unlike anything else, especially Friday Night Lights,
Yeah.
high school football. That's unlike anything ever.
You definitely should not involve gambling in high school
that's-
sports.
The best level of football to me is high school because, it's a new team every year for most teams.
Right.
Couple exceptions, but until you get to the state finals, and then we're playing for a high school championship on a gambling network.
Right.
That's all I'm gonna say.
Yeah.
If I upset somebody, I don't apologize.
Well,
Anyways, before we go, subscribe to JTV Sports for free. We got the Rec Bowl too.
we do.
Wednesday
That's
night.
going to be fun.
We will not be here with you Wednesday because I'll be at the Rec Bowl. We'll
That's
be doing
right.
the Rec Bowl. We'll be live at 6:15 Wednesday night, JTV.tv.
Do we know the second team? I know the Eagles
I
are the
don't.
first team. Okay, well, we'll
We'll
know.
find that
We'll
out.
know. I think somebody in this building probably knows
So.
already.
Yep. By the time you see this, we will know.
Mhm.
So, anyways, thanks Pataki. Thanks to the Insurance Circle. Thank you, Adam. Go Pack. Go Blue.
Yeah.
So
It sounds so somber
it.
after a win.
We will see you again next week on Monday. Thanks for watching here on JTV.